minutes.
You think we can ever do an episode outside?
Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool.
this time
Think about it.
we want to welcome everybody to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Got a very special guest today, a friend and a wealth of information on various topics. And we got a lot to get to today. So you got me, Chris Pender Sr.
Devin Pender here to inspire, uplift the community. That's why we're here.
For sure.
Like, follow, subscribe, share. I just want to make sure I got it right this time.
And Irv, you can introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, everybody. My name is Irv Brockington. Friend with Chris there. This is my first podcast, guys, so be kind. Be kind to me. I've never done this before, so I'm excited.
Well, we want to welcome you, man. We definitely welcome you to the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.
You know, we waiting for Chris to be here shortly, but I know we got a wealth of stuff to talk about, man. So first I want to start out is, since politics is the hot thing in everybody's mind, man, can you explain your role as commissioner in Cheltenham?
All right. So there are 7 commissioners in the township right now. I'm one of 7. My ward is ward number 7, which is on the east side of Cheltenham Township. And as commissioners, we meet the first 3 Wednesdays of the month with different issues from public works, building and zoning, public safety. Those are sort of the I guess you could say the major things that we have to deal with. Towards the end of the year, we start working on the budget for the following year. And to me, that's probably number 1 in our township right now is the budget. Because, taxes are a hot item in the township. And what we've tried to do is make sure that the spending that's done in the township is done responsible. We're proud to say that we haven't had a real estate tax increase in the last 3 years. And we're pretty happy with that. I don't know how long we can keep that going because, prices of everything's going up. And every time you want something, you have to pay for it. And, we pay our employees well. They have a really good benefit package, and we want to keep that. We're happy with them. They work hard. Especially our public works guy, our police. We have a really good police force. We have a great police chief. And, they deserve to be paid well. And so that's just some of the stuff that I do as a commissioner. Those are sort of the major hot topics. But they're small things where someone calls me about, hey, there's a abandoned car on my street. Those are things we sort of take care of too.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about taxes, Irv, because being a former school board member, tax was always a tough spot. But one thing you said, I think people don't understand, and we're going to get into some other stuff. But what they don't understand is they want things, but they never figure out that those things have to be paid for.
Yeah.
So because that's the conversation I have all the time. You want better schools, but you don't want to put money into the better schools.
Yeah. I mean, everyone from, hey, I want a stop sign. We have to buy the stop sign.
Yeah.
And that stop sign is going to cost money. So every want that you put on your list, you got to put a dollar sign next to it.
Yeah.
And so when we're doing our budget, it's sort of what we do. We talk to the heads of every department, and we will ask them, like, can you cut, something, to try to make this budget work? And it's a long process. And this is the thing that's amazing. The budget process, and you would know this, Chris, is open to the public.
Yeah.
And very rarely do we get anyone who wants to attend our budget meetings. I mean, they're not exciting. It's not riveting TV or anything like that. And it could be long and drawn out, but I think it's important that residents sort of kind of know the process. And all that stuff is available online, and it's recorded and things like that. And, we're very transparent. One thing that, being in this position maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I don't think that it wasn't a setup where you had to be that transparent. Mm-hmm. Now you have to be, because everything's going to be online. Everybody's going to know what's going on. So you have to be so transparent. And I love the commissioners that I'm working with because we're all very, very transparent. And we don't try to keep anything. Once we can tell you, we let you know, like, right away what's going on.
But I think it's just like politics, though. I think it's funny because, not funny, haha, but funny. It's funny because, people don't want to be involved in the process, but they want to get involved after the process. Probably gonna come this way and get involved after the process. And that's the funny thing about it, because it's the same in the school board. People don't come to the meetings. You have these meetings and nobody shows up, and then as soon as something get passed, 45 people show up.
Yeah. I tried my best. Like I do town hall meetings just for my ward. Let them know what's going on. And I think, everyone has their hot topic, what they want to talk about. But I would like for more people to get involved when it comes to the budget process so they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So for the people who may not know you, can you kind of dive a little deeper into your background and what led you to becoming a public servant of sorts?
Wow. That's a good one. All right, I grew up in North Philadelphia. North Philadelphia, born and brave.
He loves that.
Yeah,
that's my favorite phrase.
Start to the story. He loves it.
Yeah. Great mom and dad. And it's funny, a lot of things I do now, I go, my God, I sound like my dad. I look like my dad. He was truly my hero. So, being there, I had 4 brothers, 1 sister. I was blessed to have this really great household of mom and dad, telling us to do the right thing, teaching us to do the right thing, a very religious household. My dad was a deacon in his church, and my mom was Catholic. So I grew up in a little bit of both, right? I was an altar boy, but I knew gospel music.
That little swag and that little...
Yeah, so I kind of knew both. If you've heard of the Brockington Ensemble, that was my uncle.
Oh, I have,
yeah. That was my dad's younger brother. So, gospel music was, in our home, but my dad wanted us to have sort of this disciplinarian type education back in that day. So I went to Catholic school. So we were all Catholic. Fast forward, moved here, moved away, moved back, got remarried. And when I came back here the second time to Cheltenham, when I say here, I just wanted to get involved more. I just did not want to be, pay my mortgage and stay in my house, have my cookouts and not get involved. So one of the first things I did was, I'm a baseball guy. I'm a baseball geek.
We're going to talk about that. I was definitely about to go there next. So I can ask about the baseball.
Yeah, I'm a baseball geek, without a doubt. And I remember my wife saying, well, why don't you get involved with the Cheltenham Little League? And I said to her, well, I don't have, I had daughters. I'm like, I don't have any kids in the league. And she goes, well, just ask. And I did. And I ended up coaching. And then I got on the board, and I was on this, and I was on this committee, that committee. And then I ended up being the president of the league.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
And then I got involved also in called the Planning Commission. I was on the Planning Commission, I think, for 2 or 3 years. And that sort of got me really involved in what was going on in the township, with development coming and, people trying to put a pool in. What do you need to do to get this and things like that? And then someone came to me and said, would you run for office? And I thought it was a joke. And I want to say we shouldn't think that way. That I wish I had done it when I was your age and not at this age. And, I think that when someone comes to you, and I wasn't thinking enough about that, I could do this.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I said was, no, I'm not a politician.
Right.
Well, you don't have to be a politician. You can be an elected official.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 2 different things. And then I went back to think about my dad. He was the guy, he was the block captain. He was the one who had the apparatus to turn on the water plug.
Water
plug. I'm talking about, Chris, when I say
they call him fire hydrant.
Yeah, we call him fire hydrant. We call him water plug.
What is that?
Yeah, my dad had that. And he was the guy who organized the street cleaning and all that. And all that came back to me. And I said, why not? I think I can do this, because my whole thing was, don't be a politician. You can be someone that can serve this township and be available. I don't have all the answers. I didn't have them then. I don't have them now. But it's about serving and being available to people, making yourself I just not there on Wednesdays. You have to be out and about. Chris knows you'll see me at just about any event in this township. And to me, that's it. So I won from this little kid. I remember being sworn in. My brothers were there. And my brother hugged me. He goes, "My God, this little kid from North Philly, now you're a commissioner in Cheltenham."
Wow.
He said, "Mom and Dad, they shouting up in heaven."
Yeah.
And I'm proud of it. I do it now because I want my daughters to see that maybe this the way my dad kind of got in my DNA and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping what I'm doing, what Chris is doing is in your DNA.
Yeah. Definitely times where I catch myself doing something. I'm like, man, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Can I get a glass of ice?
Yeah.
The littlest things, but like also I feel like a lot of my personality and ambition sometimes just little mannerisms and how I talk. I catch myself.
Exactly.
doing
I catch myself doing it all the time like my dad. And so you guys are blessed to be able to sit here with him, be able to feel that love from him. But that's sort of my background in reference to that. I didn't go to school for political science or anything like that. To me, my profession has been finance and working in banking. And I kind of bring that, what I bring is not the numbers, I bring the customer service. The one thing that in banking, they always talk about customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as an elected official, you call me, I need to call you back.
Yeah.
You email me, I need to email you back.
All right.
Within 24 hours and not just ignore you and just go, well,
I'm glad you're speaking to that.
And to me, it's about customer service. Because a lot of times, in government, you don't have anywhere else to go. I work for a bank, and if I don't treat you right, you close your account, you go to another bank.
Yeah.
But in government, if I don't treat you right, where do you go?
Yeah.
So
you become disengaged.
Right, exactly. So my whole thing is when I get an email or when I get a phone call, you know what? I'm trying to get back to that person as soon as possible. I may not have the answer. I may need time to get the answers. So I may call you or email you and say, hey, can you give me 48 hours to get an answer to that? And keep in mind, the answer may not always be the answer that you want to hear. And Chris knows that as being on the school board. Yeah, so that's sort of my background. And, and then all of that, and Chris wants to get into it, that, I'm a dad also. That's the title. That's the title that I enjoy.
But the dad story is different, though. The dad story is different because you are a widower.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so that's different than just being a dad. And for me, one of the things I always admired about you was how you balance that. You balance being a dad, then balance being a widower. And I told you I follow you, so I see this stuff with you girls, and they seem to be flourishing.
The one title that I'm most proud about is just being a dad. I have 3 daughters. I have 2 grandkids. Very, very proud of my 3 girls. My 2 younger ones, their mother passed away 8 years ago. And I don't see some people say, you're a single parent. No, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I'm just a parent.
I
don't need the single part. Because Chris, you're here with your wife. Do you call yourself a married parent?
But you know what's funny? It's funny because when we grew up, and you probably saw the same thing, there wasn't such a term.
No,
I was the only one out of all my friends who had a mom and a dad.
Me too,
and I never knew the term single parent.
Yeah.
It wasn't too. That's something that when we got to this era, everybody started throwing it around.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow.
Yeah. I never, I don't consider myself that. I never felt like that. My girls had a mom. They had a mom. She's transitioned. She's with the Lord, but they have a mom.
Yeah.
So I never really went down that road of being a single parent. I'm a dad.
I think that's a great point. Like we live in a society now where they just want to put a label or a title on things, but it kind of in a way just doesn't even acknowledge that the other parent exists in a way.
For me,
it was intentional.
For me, it was a term that was pretty much like a handicap.
Yes,
because it became a crutch for a lot of our social ills. It became a crutch because, and I tell people when I was growing up, it was moms who came out there, man, with that belt bull. You didn't cross them.
Right. But I will say this though, after my wife passed, I did have a newfound respect for that parent who's the only parent.
Yeah, parent alone. Yeah.
It is different because if you got 2 parents with 2 cars. You take this kid, I take that kid. It's a little easy. But when you got one and you got one that, you got to be there at 1, you got to be there at 1:30. So I will say that I had a newfound respect for the women and men. I don't think us men get the credit because there's a lot of men out there raising kids by themselves under any type of circumstance. But I don't think that we get the credit in reference to that. I mean, you hear people on Mother's Day that will say to a single mother, on Father's Day, we'll say to a single mother, Happy Father's Day.
Don't go there. That's one of my least favorite things. It is because, and I don't mean it. No, I don't, and I don't mean it in disrespect. But fathers have roles, and I think you kind of diminish it when you do that. Moms do a great job, and I think mom they do a fantastic job. But there were certain things that my wife gave my daughter I couldn't give her.
Right.
True.
And vice versa.
Right.
And I think that's the part I think that people miss out on that.
Yeah. And that's the part for me as a dad with daughters that my heart hurts for my daughters. Especially my daughter who was 10, who's now 19, that I know that there's stuff that I cannot do for her that her mom would do for her. So if I keep talking about that, I'm going to probably start. You'll see tears go down my eyes. But seriously, though, that's the thing that hurt me the most. That they're doing well, and therapy is a part of their lives in my life. But I know that there's a part of their heart that's always going to ache because they will get married, they will have kids, but they won't have their mother to be able to celebrate those wins that they have, that they're going to have. So there's things that, and it's funny. So I'm going to ask you this, Chris. A couple of weeks ago, I was having dinner with my daughters, the 2 of them, and they said to me, Dad, would you treat us different if we were boys?
So you got something? Most definitely. Most definitely. No, I mean, and I've gotten to this discussion before because I do a lot of stuff with men and father and parenting, and I hear how it's sexism. It's not, because there are certain dangers that girls go through that boys don't have to go through.
Very true.
And being a male, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
We know some of the pitfalls that's out there.
Yes.
That I don't have to worry about that with my sons.
Right.
And you just said it earlier, the conversation is different.
The conversation is different.
It's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people don't want to recognize that because everybody's trying to simplify things and make everything even Steven, but it's not. When they got 16 years old, I love all my kids, but I felt more I had to protect my daughter at 16 than them. They boys, they a little rougher, they kind of get it. I'm watching over them, but I got to be extra careful with my daughter. Yeah. And it doesn't, she's not weak or anything like that. Females are just in a different mold. Yeah. And guys, and I can tell you this because working with men target females, especially females in certain situations. More than women to target a guy. A guy will sit there and figure, well, you know what? Dad ain't around. She don't have a good man figure. I can home in there. You know what I mean? Or dad ain't paying attention to her. And a woman sitting around thinking, man, Chris' mom ain't around, so I'm gonna be his next mom. It's different conversations.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's funny. In raising my daughters, I used to always look at the guys, and I would say, like for you, Chris, obviously you're raising husbands.
Yeah. Yep.
You're not just raising your sons. You're raising husbands
and fathers
and uncles.
Yeah.
And grandfathers.
Yep.
That's what you're raising.
But you think I spoke at a church a couple of weeks ago and I had the same conversation. A lot of people don't get this aspect of it. People don't look at parenting as generational. They look at it as this current thing, the present thing, or maybe past because they bring their past.
They bring their past.
Yeah, but they don't look at it as this is generational. That the things I do to my son is going to impact the generation that comes behind him, possibly behind him, and this thing could be trickle down thing.
Yeah, it can. I mean, you will see, families who have issues. Yeah, those issues have gone through several.
Man, I work with kids, and soon I meet the mamas or dad. I know where it came from.
It's just that's actually the thought of it is kind of like it's still stuck with me when you're sitting here talking about raising kids and the idea that you're raising husbands, fathers, because I don't think anybody really thinks about it.
They don't.
It's definitely that. I'm raising my son in this moment. That's all I care about. And then we wonder why when they grow up and they're these crazy adults.
So I think it depends on. There's so many things.
You said that.
But it's true.
It's true.
For one who worked with every population from preschool to prison, it's true. You can connect the dots where you look at a young person and almost see where they possibly going to end up if nothing happens, if nobody intervenes,
Right.
if nobody steps in and breaks the cycle. Because my norm is what I'm exposed to.
Yeah.
So you may think it's crazy,
Right.
but this is what, to Chris's point, I'm exposed to, so that's my norm.
Right. And we started off with talking about how my past with my dad, with your dad,
And my dad,
your dad.
yeah, man.
So that kind of tells you that if our young men don't have that, they're sort of lost.
Yeah.
They don't have a DNA to say, or they don't have a map.
Look at society
All
now.
right. But they don't have a map to say your dad, Chris, is giving you guys a map.
Mm-hmm.
And boom. And then if you don't have that map, you're lost. You don't know which way to go.
True.
You guys know which way because your dad told you which way to go.
Mm-hmm.
My dad told me. I'm trying to do that even though I have daughters. I'm trying to do that with them and hopefully set them up where if they meet someone and they start to date that person is going to be, oh, well, I can't have that because my dad told me I need to go down this road.
Mm-hmm.
But you've modeled the bar, and I think that's all you can do as a parent is model, what the bar is.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't not easy. I mean, you might see some posts, but you don't see the other part.
We were talking about it before this started. I can imagine
that I don't because having two daughters, and I'm a guy, so there's things that I may not be saying right. I have to watch what I say.
How you say?
Wow.
I have to be sensitive to the fact of that, and it was a learning process. And then at the same time, I'm grieving because a wife that I had for 20 plus years is gone. So I had to grieve, but I also had to parent. So I had to sort of make sure that I had my mental state and the therapy to make sure that I could deal with that. But I also had to raise them. Yeah. I couldn't just stop. I had a 10-year-old.
Like, how did you manage and cope with dealing with all of that?
I had a 10-year-old. Prayer, my brother.
I think that's the strength that's not often talked about when it comes to African American males, unless it's used the wrong way. If you're committing a crime or know something crazy. Yeah. But there's a lot of guys like you who step up to the plate, not because they wanted to, but because they were thrust into their role and they didn't have time to take time off.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part that I told you that we were talking before the camera came on, that I admire that you were able to do that. And even though you say people didn't see a lot, but that takes courage too, to be able to flip that face and go out in the public and say, hey, I got to do this and still do my job.
Because what's funny is that all that happened almost at the same time. When I won my first election, it was in November, and my wife passed in December, a month later.
I remember.
So she didn't even see me get sworn in January. So at the time where my life changed, my daughter's life changed, where I needed to be the dad, now I'm a new commissioner. So I bring in all this other stuff. But oddly enough, though, it's funny because I was going to pull out of the race. And my wife, Teresa, said to me, I don't want you to pull out. She said, just make a promise that you'll win. She said, because when this is all done, she goes, you're going to need something to keep you busy. But I'm like, having those two girls would have kept me busy enough, though. But it was actually a conversation her and I had.
But she was smart because she knew those girls were going to occupy a lot of the things, but they weren't going to occupy you mentally.
That's true.
They were, emotionally, but mentally, your brain, because, my wife and I, we're going on 39 years. I see 40. She gets when I see 40, she looks at me like I'm trying to rush it. But that's no. But I say it because when you spend, because when you spend 20 plus years with somebody, you almost forget what it's like not to be with them.
Yeah, definitely.
You do. You forget what it's like. And sometimes you take it for granted. But so I can't imagine what it would be like. Suddenly you got to do this whole about face, but you got to keep going. So that took courage. That not only did you keep going to daughters, but you had to keep going. You had to be the cheerleader. You had to be part therapist. Now you got a whole township, which is, I can say that I'm the school board member. It's not always easy to deal with.
He said that. I didn't say that. I love you guys. I love my Ward 7 people.
I can say it now, but it's not. And then that's taking on a whole nother set of problems. And just listen to you. You get back to people in 24 hours, 48 hours. You care about your constituents, the people you serve. But that's a whole nother mental burden.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm going to go back to North Philly. It was my mom and dad.
I love that. You got the right person.
I got to go back to that
My roots.
because I got to go back to my roots because I had two parents who always do the right thing. My dad used to have this thing where, like, if I went out with my friends, we were going to go hang out. He would say to me, "Hey, listen, when you leave out of here, the Brockington name is clean. Don't bring it back with mud on it."
That's something like I feel like my parents said to me.
And he would say that. So, and I think a lot of when that all happened, I actually had to say, have those conversations with myself, have those conversations with God, like, to give me the strength.
It's a North Philly thing, because my father would say the same thing to me. He said, "Son, I don't have anything else to give you but my last name. Yo, don't go out there and mess it up."
Don't mess it up. That must have been a North Philly thing, because my dad would say that all the time, and he was like, people know the Brockington ensemble, so you cannot hide from that, or anything like that. And I didn't want to, and I think that, and the issue with raising girls, I made a promise. The last conversation, I think it was, I will take care of these girls. I'm their dad. I'm supposed to. I'm not asking for an award.
Right.
I'm not asking for a medal.
See, now I got to get on my father's day.
I'm a dad, and that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, you are, but I don't think it's a question of asking for a medal, asking for a reward. I just think around all the negative attention that negative dads get, I think society needs to start acknowledging that there's more good dads than bad dads.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good point. So my whole thing is not about getting an award, but it needs to acknowledge the fact that, because society will tell you all the stats about the fatherless homes and things, and they run it down to you. Everybody knows that stat, but nobody talks about the dads who knock it out the box.
Well, my acknowledgement is when my girls do well.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter has finished her first year at Pitt, did really, really well. Made honor roll both semesters.
I saw that.
Really happy with that. And to me, that's my reward. That's my reward right there.
It is, but it's bigger than that, because people, there's young black boys out here, even in Cheltenham, who don't have a dad, who are watching you, who are fighting excuses that society gives them to quit, to do wrong things, and they're paying attention. So when they see guys like you overcome stuff and beat the odds, it gives them, okay, I don't have to be a knucklehead.
Yeah.
I can, it's not going to be easy, but look, what I'm going through ain't going to be nothing what he went through, so I can do this thing.
See, I think too, Chris, is that at this point for me, I'm the OG.
I get that everywhere I go, man.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go.
We're the OGs.
Everywhere I go.
And I think that generation that we're seeing, that's a little lost, are going to listen to your sons. They will probably listen to these two young men before they listen to you and I, because we're the OGs. And they feel as though we're so far from it that we may not understand them. But these two young men, they'll be like, okay, you just got from there. So they might listen to them a little bit more.
I beg to differ. As one who worked with kids, they watch us more than they listen to us.
They watch us.
But they pay attention to us.
Yeah.
They see the difference. I think the advantage this generation has is they can walk into a group of kids and talk to them and they connect right away.
Right.
But us is a little different. They watch
That's
it.
what I'm.
But they do after they they listen to you and they realize that you're for real, that you're legit. Then you connect with them. It takes me a little longer.
Gotta get their respect.
Yeah, it takes me a little longer because I am older. But they do connect because they're not used to guys like you and I coming in, and investing in somebody else for no reason.
Like the one thing that I would like, someone said to me, I wanted to think like, I didn't wear the suit and tie and things like that. I don't want to be dressed like that, because then I may set up a little barrier.
Yeah. That is true.
Man, I do it all. I say it all the time.
I may set a barrier up because now all of a sudden they're looking at me like I'm the principal.
You know what broke me out of that? I was in a high school. Man, I hate to say how long ago, but about I think it's about 35 years ago. I was in high school, and I had a suit on. And the guy said, "Oh man, you cleaning the board of health?" You remember the saying he used to say?
Yeah.
He says, "Man, he says the only time we see suits is at weddings, funerals, and when we go to court."
Yeah.
And ever since then, I not stopped wearing suits at all because in their mindset, that's the only three things they equated to: weddings, funerals, and go to court. They don't know about wearing no suit no other time.
Yeah. I'm like, how do we change that?
Yeah.
Well, you change it, man, because you got to take them different places. You got to show them different things. Right. You gotta take them places like. I started doing a rites of passage. Mm-hmm. That's why I do the career days. The career days, you bring people in who may not be dressed in a suit and tie, but they explain to them like, "Yo, this is what I do. This is how I got here, and this is the path that you take." Suit and tie is not bad.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But you got to remember that started by people who didn't have suit and ties, so they made it a bad thing. Yeah. I don't, because I knew cats I grew up with. Yeah, you never had a suit on. That's why you talking about this corny and everything else. But guys with suits weren't calling it corny.
Right. I mean, I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I wore a shirt and tie, and in high school it was a shirt, tie, and a blazer
every day.
Man, I thought I was a Mormon growing up. Man, we used to. I don't even remember Playhouse in the Park.
Yes.
Playhouse in the Park. My mom and them would take us. We saw Pearlie, Macbeth. We saw.
Pearlie's coming back out. That.
Yeah, they look at me like, I saw all them things.
That's coming back out.
Yeah, you laughing, but when I got to high school, I aced it. I aced it. Everybody else was. I didn't have to pay attention. But we saw, Macbeth and all those things. But we always had to wear a white shirt. And my mother was a teacher, so all our shirts have to have pockets. We could not wear, we had to have pockets, man. That's why I hate pockets on my shirts now.
What's the pockets for?
But all the shirts were made like that back then. They were considered dress shirts. It was a certain standard. Like back then in public school, your shirt had to have a pocket.
What?
Yeah, you couldn't wear shorts that was above you. Yeah, remember that?
My high school, I went to all Catholic boys high school.
Yours is worse than ours.
And, so it was white shirts every day. Yeah, for 4 years.
But those are the things that this generation missed. So back to what I was saying about that's the standard they don't have. Yeah. So they'll watch you. It's like I do a lot of stuff in restorative circles. And the first session is usually always kind of tricky, because we trying to figure each other out. But after a while, look, they know I'm for real.
Yeah, so once they gain your trust and they know that you're for real.
Yeah.
And I think then it's different. But, I know, like, if I do something with the township, like with the school district, I walk in. Now, I may know some of the kids because of baseball, and I coach baseball at Seabrook and things like that. But, I'm the OG.
Yeah.
It don't matter, man.
I was going to ask you if you still coach baseball and like kind of
I do.
Use that as almost like mentor.
I do. I still coach baseball.
You help
as a
out
matter
in
of
high
fact,
school?
tonight I actually had to cancel. I would have been over at Cheltenham Little League. I wasn't here tonight.
Oh man, cancel for us.
Do you help out at the high school at all too, or is it just Little League?
Little League and at Cedarbrook, I help out.
I miss it. I miss it. I used to coach, and I actually play college ball, baseball and basketball. I miss it, but the kids just different now, man.
That's what
the kids may be different, but the game is the same.
Yeah, I love the game.
It's still 90 feet. So I might coach a little. I'm an OG, so I'm a coach old school.
Yeah.
The coach the way I know that the way I was coached. But I still love it.
What age group is it?
Mostly 7th grade, 8th grade.
Okay.
See, I can't coach the way I used to coach, man. What told me it was over when I was coaching Devon's basketball game one time we were playing. And I don't scream at kids, but I raise my voice a lot. And this kid started crying, man. Remember that kid started crying? We played it. I was like, "Yo, dude!" And I said, "Okay, I can't do this." And the mom kid, he's playing sports. He's sensitive. They were like young teenagers.
I'm joking.
That and the fact that I'm a fundamental guy. I think if you learn the fundamentals, you can play this game. But these kids, man, they all want to swing for the fence, man, and nobody wants it to cut off, man. Well, now I'm talking baseball.
Do you have a lot of kids that play?
Are you still getting a big turnout for it?
Yeah.
Because Philly is struggling. The city itself is struggling.
Well, the Little League program is going pretty well.
Oh, okay.
And Cedarbrook, they get 12, 14 kids to go out. They have a 7th grade and an 8th grade.
But Philly is really struggling. Because back in the day when we were growing up, baseball fields were all over the place.
Yeah, well,
now they can't.
I'm going to go on my high and say I blame Major League Baseball. When Michael Jordan came out and made basketball this cool, sexy sport, baseball never followed that, especially in the black and brown communities. And I mean, come on, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to Venezuela, Dominican baseball is still big.
Yeah, Japan.
And Japan,
right? All everywhere, right?
But in the black community, when basketball just took off, baseball just kind of sat there and ignored the black community. So if you had a kid who was maybe a good baseball player, I'm gonna go basketball because you know why? The gym's gonna be full. And I always say this: if you're in high school,
I was about to say that.
If you're in high school and your basketball team is 0-12, the gym might still be full. If your baseball team is 12-0, it ain't nobody be there but your mom, the moms and the dads.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm not gonna lie, because I was playing baseball and we were good, but you play to relatives, mom and dad, and the older guys. You know, the old baseball guys would come hang out, but no, you didn't get any crowds.
Yeah.
Basketball, you know, everybody know who you are in basketball. Everybody, everywhere you go. So it was a different draw, but at least back then, you know, there were plenty of fields. Now you don't even see all the fields anymore.
But even with the baseball,
remember
just thinking back, I wanted to talk about King Griffey Jr. was kind of around that time, wasn't he? Like when he was,
but
I guess that was like Penny. That was
but they weren't pushing it like Michael Jordan. You saw Michael Jordan everywhere.
MLB had not pushed it.
Yeah,
they should have,
especially with the stars they had.
You know,
I feel like
it was towards the end of the career when they realized this kid is cool. You know how many people were the purists of baseball were probably upset with him wearing his
backwards. Yeah. That became
and he was doing that only during like batting practice and things like that. The baseball players didn't like that.
And he was a kid.
He was a kid. And the MLB should have hopped on that. You know, they should have hopped on that. They should have made shirts. They should have had backward hat day. You know, they could have hopped on that in the community.
But you got to have an imagination, though. Whoever, you know, those folks concerning Michael Jordan, man, you got to admit they were creative. They were before their time.
But it just took basketball to another level.
Yeah, but I think baseball didn't have that kind of personality. They didn't have that kind of, you know, like football was the same way. Football used to have, you know, you got these rigid guys, these old school guys who think it's still, you know, it wasn't until guys, you know, came along like Jerry Jones. These guys start thinking about brand and all the different things. You know, football just thought we're going to keep running this product out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, I mean, the baseball thing, I think is still doing well here at Cheltenham. Cool. The high school team did okay this year. The football team did okay. You know, I'm just glad to see the kids that aren't just getting involved in those sports. They have a great soccer program over there. My daughter did soccer 4 years over there. So, you know, I'm proud of our school district. You know, they're getting ready to do a rebranding. Speaking about rebranding, you know, I think our school district doesn't get the credit that it does. If something bad happens, it's all over Facebook.
Of course.
But if something good happens, nothing is said.
I think for so long, Cheltenham, from the time we came out here in '98, it was a basketball community. You know, you would go to the gym, girls and boys, gym would be jam-packed and crowded, man. I mean, the girls everybody would be there.
Yeah.
And then when the lean years happened in basketball, nothing else got any notoriety. Everybody just kind of fell off.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I mean, the girls did really well with a couple of state championships and stuff like that. And the football team was always just sort of...
The boys' basketball team was Suburban 1 all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you would go to gym on Friday nights, man. You couldn't move in there. Boys or girls. Everybody was in there. Everybody, politicians, the gym be jam-packed. Yeah.
And I think it's going to get back to that. I think the football team's going to do well this year. They have a really good coach.
He was on the show. We had Grove on the show.
Oh, you had Grove? Yeah. So I really think he's going to do a lot of good things. I mean, those guys are pumping iron. They're working out right now.
He's building men. And that's what I really like.
And that's what I think. I love what you just said, that he's just not having a football team and a bunch of athletes. He's building fathers. He's building uncles. He's building wives, husbands. He's building that right now.
When I was in the 9th grade, I was really good in sports, and my father saw I was getting cocky. He said, you know, so what he said was, you know, every year, twice a year, we had sports, before and after. And he said, I want you to look around the locker room. And every end of the year, we had a conversation. He said, you see how the faces change? I said, yeah. He says, you know what? He says, because the higher you go into the competition, the more people are going to drop off.
Right.
He said, someday you're going to play your last game, and it may be before you think it is.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that, man. He was like, hey, and he was right. You start looking around. Every level you go to, you remember people who used to play with you. And then some people were better than you, and they disappear. So I think that's the reality check that I like that Grove and some coaches are doing now. That is more about, if you're good and you make it, you still got to be personal character.
Right.
Well, I think the one thing, too, that kind of helped hurt baseball a little bit was that everybody got into these travel teams.
Yeah.
I read an article.
It's like the AAU coaches.
Yeah, it's like AAU, but it's very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
who was it? It was the left fielder that the Phillies had, and now he's back with the Pirates. I can't think of his name.
McCutcheon.
Mm. Read an article, and he said that he would not be in MLB. There was some type of special team that he wanted to play on, but his parents couldn't afford it. His mom couldn't afford it, and this guy paid for him. And by him going to that particular camp or whatever, it actually led to him being in MLB. And he said he probably was not the best kid in his neighborhood. He just had the opportunity to be seen.
Well, the American Legion, when we were growing up, it was American Legion.
Right.
And you had to pay the fee.
Right.
And if you couldn't pay the fee, you couldn't play.
You couldn't play.
I mean, that's definitely a big problem with baseball and getting people that look like us to participate is that we kind of priced out. Right? If you want to play against the top tier competition, all the equipment that you had to buy to actually
But I
play.
remember the Phillies used to invite you. They had trials right there, third and off.
They did.
Yeah,
Actually, I went there.
I did too. I got invited to a trial there, right there in third and Dolphin. That vanished. But they used to have a third and Dolphin. But I think baseball did start pricing out because especially when they went from wood bats to aluminum bats. Because I was in high school when they made that transition, man. And I remember, going to places, like Goldberg, they're all gone now, sporting, getting a bat. And then when they switched over to aluminum bats, the price went up like 3 times.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I remember talking to some parents about that, and they were getting kids like, a $300 bat.
Yeah.
I said, you can have a $300 bat with a $20 swing.
Yeah. But that was a big shift, man. Because because you used to get wooden bats, man. You would spend like $25, $30.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the aluminums came out. I think they started like $75, $80. Yeah. And every parent couldn't afford that.
Their price. There's so many now. Their price is a little lower now.
Because of competition.
Yeah, but you still see them right through college. I was watching the College World Series, and they still use it.
But you can't use it anymore, can you, in college, can you?
I guess you probably can, but most of them want to use that.
I know some leagues couldn't use wood because they said breaking is they were saying it breaks and all this stuff.
But then you go to
the pros, that's what you got to use.
You're during single A ball.
Yeah, that's what you got to use.
To use an aluminum bat.
You can't get the ball out of the park anymore.
Because I played in the semi-pro league and we could not use wooden bats.
Yeah,
and I hated it. Nope, because they said they break and they splinter. The bat come off and fly all over the place. And I'm like, well, that's part of the game.
So it's like, what can we do to kind of turn around that perspective of like getting people that look like us to participate? Yeah, because I grew up playing baseball and kind of tailed off because basketball was more appealing. I feel like more of my friends were playing that, and like there wasn't too many people like me,
right?
Like kind of get there, and it's like
if you think about like where I grew up in North Philly, it's funny. I didn't play on grass until I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. I think 5th grade. So we played baseball in the schoolyard
on concrete.
You won't see that too much now. They'll play basketball on concrete.
Parents don't let you do that.
So
that was our arena.
Right, exactly. I remember playing on grass for the first time. You couldn't tell me I was a professional baseball player. And it was out at 30-39.
Yeah, I was 8 years old when I played with 10-12 at Magic.
Yeah,
because we played on concrete.
Yeah,
so when I got on grass, it was like I had a vacuum cleaner because concrete, and we had the concrete back in the day where the rocks was in it. Remember the rocks was in it? Stick up in the concrete so the ball looked like it's coming. All of a sudden that thing take off.
I'm really going to age myself. I remember we thought it was cool because we were being, it was a public school, and once a year, right before the school went out, the janitor would come out and repaint the bases.
Oh man!
Yeah.
So at that point, we were like, "Oh my God, this is great! We got a new field."
Yeah.
They just put some white paint down on the 4 bases and the pitcher's mound.
Yep.
And we were good for the summer, and that's all we did. We played baseball all summer.
but it had those rocks in the concrete, so the ball would hit those and shoot up. Yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So I gotta find all these people to play with y'all.
Yeah. Because it was different back then. See, another thing though, we played all sports. We played all sports. Now basketball is year round.
Yeah, I mean, we played baseball. Then in the fall, we went to
football, basketball. But now you do like I tell I say it all the time. We were growing up. Nobody was playing the gym in the summertime. Basketball in the gym.
The gyms were shut down and we played outside.
If you got a summer league, and the summer league was typically very competitive. Yeah. But I mean, it just wasn't. We played all the sports. We played baseball. Heck, we played all the sports in one day sometimes.
I don't know what else too is not too enticing at times. Is like the positions. Like I felt like I was fortunate and able enough where I could pitch. You know what I mean? I was taught that. But I feel like definitely when I started going to high school, they got me doing things that I feel like I wasn't like. I'm not a designator like runner. Like I'm not stealing bases. I'm not blazing fast. Or like they put me in outfield, center field, like places that I feel like I didn't necessarily want to be.
Wow.
Where my right. Like what? I'm like I want to pitch. I just want to do that. Like, but they got you.
A lot of times.
That definitely turned me on.
I'm gonna get a little controversial right here. Sometimes what happens with our kids, we're pigeonholed into you can't play shortstop because you're not smart enough to play shortstop. So we'll put you in center field because you're fast and athletic, and I need someone smart on shortstop. Yeah, I was a catcher. Yeah. And mainly because I was the fat guy.
I played shortstop.
Again, the stereotype.
I played shortstop, but it's true. I played shortstop in center field. I remember the first time I played for a white coach, and I walked up and he said, he said, "How old are you? How much you weigh?" He said, "Man, you're an outfielder." I'm like, "What?" Because I had, I guess I had the right weight and height, and I was supposed to be like a greyhound. Yeah, I mean, I was good, but he didn't give me a chance to play shortstop. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to play shortstop. I just, and then it was funny because he saw me in the summer league and the team I was playing on, it was a travel team. The shortstop got hurt, so I had to play shortstop. He was like, "Well, why you never told me? I told you the first time I came out."
That happened to me in the power.
Yeah, he was like, "Wait a minute, I never knew."
Out here at Oakland's Park Trailblazers.
Yeah. I was shocked. So now by my weight and my height, what I can play.
Yeah, I've seen it happen with a lot of our kids that they should be playing a position, they should be pitching, or they should be this, and I'll put you in outfield. I'll put you in center because you're fast and you can cover both. Yeah. Well, I might be better at shortstop and make your team better at shortstop. But now they're going to put you in the outfield. Yeah, I see.
So how do you round all this out, man? Because you're like the Renaissance man over there. You talked about biking for lower. You in politics. You in boards. You a dad. You got, how do you like?
He said, how do I find time for myself? Yeah. Honestly, I actually enjoy what I do. There's not too many moments where I'm like, I actually enjoy. I try to take every moment and enjoy it. Even some of the stuff that's kind of, you get those phone calls from residents or emails, and you count to 10 before you answer. But that's what back to customer service again. But I think, and I don't take any of it, like the person's attacking me. Most of the time, it's just an issue that they want. I do find some time for myself sometimes, but this is the odd part is that like being over at Cheltenham Little League or, coaching a baseball game, that's sort of my downtime. I kind of enjoy that. Now I do miss the one thing I miss. My youngest daughter was an avid soccer player, and that was my downtime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She played soccer 10 months a year, and we would do travel, and I enjoyed that. And I have another daughter who's a chef. I have to shout her out. Lauren is a chef. She works with the Phillies. Okay. So I can go to the Phillies game. And,
we were just talking about we got to go to some games again. Yeah. We were just talking about that. We just talking about that.
No, she's a really good.
Facebook.
I did. That was something that she fell in love with, just cooking.
Oh man, that's cool. We were just talking about that. How we got to pick some games to go to, man. We go to a couple.
We got to make it out to some of the shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable going out there. So
I love
doing stuff like that is sort of my downtime. I foster puppies. I have I work with this organization in media, and I foster puppies. Right now, I actually own 2 dogs.
You in his wheelhouse.
I was like, yeah, puppies. Like, what is it? A specific breed? All
no,
types
they're
of
usually
dogs.
they're mixed breeds.
Okay.
And, we've done about 8 to 10. The last puppy that I went to foster, I ended up adopting. So I ended up keeping her.
I'm on the fence, man. About
you know, but
I've had dogs my whole life.
You know, so I mean, so some of those things are enjoyable to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I work my job that I do because we don't get paid a lot as commissioners.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that. It's like it's a part-time salary on a full-time job.
Yeah.
Part-time salary, full-time.
It's like a school board, full-time job with no salary.
With no salary, right? But one of my passions is helping people become first-time home buyers. I don't understand. I'm going to talk about who I work for, but that's a passion of mine. So I do a lot of first-time home buyer workshops. To help people, to educate them on what they need to do to become a homeowner. And that's sort of a passion of mine. So that's what I do professionally. What do I do in downtime? I don't know. What do I do in downtime? I don't know if I have any. I don't know if there's anything. I guess, have some fun with my grandkids. But
even you talking about coaching a little bit kind of makes me want to get back to that because it was a way to have some downtime. It was enjoyable seeing kids get better, and not even just within the sport, just maturing in general. Like you put a nice demographic.
There were times where my goal for one kid was before the end of the season, you're going to be able to catch and throw.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that's what, maybe now you don't, but I'm not worrying about you hitting a home run, or that you go up to bat and you're not going to be afraid, you're not going to be jumping out and you're going to swing that. Maybe that's the goal.
You are old school because I was brought up the same way. You teach them how to make contact.
Right.
Get used to making contact.
Right.
Now you get right away. Put the bat back here, man. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot shake this. Whenever the seasons change and I smell grass, I get the itch for baseball. You had that? I smell when you smell the first fresh cut of grass. It's like I'm thinking baseball.
Let me tell you, I'm actually thinking about going back to playing senior baseball. There's leagues right now for 15 over.
Hardball?
Hardball. And I had stopped playing because my daughter was doing so much soccer. So, but what helps me is that I get to go out there and throw the ball.
Yeah.
Even if I'm just like playing catch with a kid, or I'm hitting ground balls and I'm hitting fungos. That's something that I get that itch and I love it. You should out and do that. I might have to get you out there.
I do want to coach.
I was thinking about coaching.
I do. I wouldn't mind helping you out coaching.
But if you came out just to grab your glove and start throwing the ball,
I would.
Hitting
and I would like to do that.
You would just feel.
But see, for me, the coaching part will come that because I hate to see people don't play the right way.
Can I throw some BP?
I hate to see people. I hate to see people don't play the right way. So that thing, that's where that always comes in.
Right now you do have to coach a little different. I have to coach a little different, especially in the township. I don't want someone to say, Commissioner Irv just yelled at my kid. It won't be Coach Irv. It will be Commissioner Irv. Just yelled at my kid.
That is funny.
So
just invite me out. I'll come out.
I want to tell you a story. If this is for the baseball people out there, if you don't know baseball, you won't like this story. I had a kid and I have signs. And when they get a certain age, I give kids we're going to do something. We have to take something. So this kid does 3 balls and 2 strikes. I'm saying, come on, keep it out of the ball. Let's go. Right down the middle. Called 3rd strike. So in between innings, I said, why'd you let that pitch go by? He goes, Coach, I was sure you gave me the take sign.
Why would I do that?
Well, at least he was obedient.
I said, I didn't give you any signs.
That means take.
When with something like that, you have to laugh though. And I think me coaching 10 years ago, I probably would have went off. I would have done like what you say, how we used to coach. So you do have to coach it a little bit differently now. There's something called Positive Coaching Alliance, and that's the whole thing about coaching kids and trying to give them some more positivity and teaching. I think kids learn different now, and we had coaches that just yelled at us the whole time. And we learned by, oh my God, the coach.
I used to play for one coach, right? It was 2 things he did. One was both probably be cruelty right now.
Right.
I learned how to play the outfield because he would call me and then smash it over my head.
Right.
So people say, well, how did you get good in the outfield? That's how I learned. And he would stay on the pitcher's mound. He wouldn't be back in he would be on the pitcher's mound with a fungo. Like, you cheating every way you can imagine. But one thing he would do, he would yell. So it was a guy, I'm not going to say his name because we were watching, that played center field. He would always come off the field by right field. So he would have to come as the coach. He would go all the way around that way to come back. And that's like, you still got to come over here.
Yeah.
But,
but there is, and I think that it's actually made me sort of a better coach where I'm just not yelling. I'm more in a teaching mode because baseball is a game of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So you have to really teach kids how to overcome those mistakes. And if you're going to yell and they strike out and they go back on the field, then they're going to be standing there thinking about what happened.
Well, I don't yell at them for making mistakes. I'm just a screamer. Like, yo, you get over there, you move there, you move there. That's the part. But you got to do that differently. To your point, you got to do that differently now. You can't say, "Hey, Irv, get over there," because then why you hollering at my kid like that?
Right. So you got to. You definitely have to coach.
You got to be different.
I had a coach I remember on tryouts, and this was North Philly. I don't know if you remember St. Elizabeth. It was a school we played. I played there. St. E's, right? Yeah. And it was during the tryout. And then during those times, everybody didn't make the team. You actually try out.
Boy, all that 18B team stuff. Yeah, you got cut.
You got cut.
You got cut.
And
see you next year.
I never forget this. And he just broke this kid down because they said to the kid, "So where'd you get that glove?" That was hard. Yeah. Tell your parents to keep the receipt. And take that glove back.
They can return that.
But I know I had coaches say, "So you just not good." But I've had coaches say, "You just to other players, you just not good enough."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Yo, how you say that to a kid?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, you want to say it to me?" So I was thankful. But
I think some of that, it's. I'm happy. Sort of, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Because baseball is hard enough getting kids to play it.
Right.
And if you're going to sort of beat a kid up and send them home, and sometimes I've seen kids get that done whipped by their parents.
Yeah.
So they don't need that fun. I've seen kids strike out, head down, dad grabs them, walks to the car, fussing at them all the way. Well, then they're going to get it. They don't need it from their coach. Right. And once you get to a certain age, you made a mistake. Yeah. You know you missed the
ball. And pros strike out.
Yeah, and pros strike out.
But I also think the other thing about baseball is that people don't play anymore because it's a man's game. A
lot of moving parts.
And you know what? People used to laugh because in the foot race, I probably would have lost to half my neighborhood. But I was probably the best center field runner because I knew angles. Right. I knew to chase the ball on an angle, not run straight at the ball. I knew people, little stuff. I watched the top of the trees and see if the trees is blowing out. So I know the way the ball is going to go. I can't break in. I would throw grass in the air. You learn all those tricks when you really understand the game. I will watch people bat. No, but I will watch people bat. Yeah. And I would say, yo, his foot is that way. The ball's going that way. If you pull the ball, it's going to pop up. You learn those little tricks.
And it's funny, as a catcher, I think that made me really a good coach. Because I can look at how kids batting and look at their feet. Yep. They foul off a ball. Like, move my left fielder over. Like, come on, put it over. Because I can tell from just the way they're standing. So I do enjoy it.
To me, that's the best part of the game.
It is.
The thing, like I used to tell everybody, if the right-handed batter and his foot is in the bucket, he's not going to pull it unless he's not going to pull the ball with power. The ball's going to always go, and even the power is going to be up in the air.
Yeah. And I mean, and so many times, especially in Little League, I've tried to tell coaches, they put their worst player in right field.
I don't know where that came
from. I'm like, stop doing that because most kids hit the ball to center and to right. When they're younger, they're not putting the ball.
Yep.
And you're putting that player, you're sending him up for failure. If you're going to put him there, because everybody's going to go, and
because he's going to get more balls.
Yeah, or stop batting that kid last. Stop doing that because, like, I had one that, Mike is a leadoff hitter. I said, well, you only lead off once.
Yeah.
True. Because during the game, you can come up at any point.
Right.
And, give that kid confidence that you always bat last. Bat him first one game, and he'll be like, "Ooh, coach trusts."
But people think they think it's a, especially if you never played the game, you think being leadoff hitter is glorious. I hated it because you never get to see what the pitcher has.
I know.
You the first guy. So other than warm ups, you have no idea what this dude is. And I used to tell, I hated it. Like it was funny because most people know me. I used to bunt a lot. Because I knew I'm getting the fastball in them first 2 pitches. But you don't know what the guys. So people say, yeah, you want to be leadoff hitter, but you blind.
So let me ask you this: I know you're a baseball guy.
Yeah.
Baseball?
No.
I mean, I don't watch it as much. Like I said, I used to play up until high school, like a little kid, and I just like.
See, I find that's the problem. My dad was a baseball guy, and he's older, and he grew up in the Jackie Robinson era. So much so, we would only go see the Phillies when the Dodgers were in. I didn't get to see Jackie play.
Yeah.
But I remember asking my dad, like, why do we only go to the Phillies when the Dodgers are down? If you talk to any men of that generation, and if you saw 42, you would know why you don't go to.
They played baseball, but the difference was they were raised out here. I was raised in another city. So I grew up, we played baseball. It was nothing for us to get 9 guys or 18 guys and play in the schoolyard.
Let me ask you this. Chris. When you got a little bit older, did you guys play different neighborhoods? Did you go?
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we did it all the time. Yeah,
grab guys
and we would walk. And go travel.
And we would baseball. That was the original travel.
Did you play with the black tape hardball?
What's that?
The black tape hardball. Yeah. Put that on the hardball.
Because the stitches,
shiny hardball.
the stitches would get beat up.
Because you played on concrete.
You played with concrete, so you just wrapped the ball
black tape.
But it was shiny black tape, or it was the sticky black tape.
Yeah, and I jumped.
Yeah, of course. What about this? Is this a half ball?
Yeah, half ball. Yeah.
You guys know what half ball?
Tennis ball? Like the tennis ball?
Well, no, that was a pimple ball.
Ball.
Y'all have tennis balls, pimple ball. But we used to buy those spongy balls and play fastball. And now we laugh when we talk about it because we wouldn't be that far apart. And we'd be humming that thing down there.
Yeah, but half ball with a stick.
Moon, guys. With a mop stick or broomstick,
Right.
I've heard of that before.
Y'all were just
I was close.
Yeah, we just
broomstick and
but I think that's where that's what we always we had that competitiveness.
But we were always doing something, and it was usually around sports for boys. Even if it was just let's race.
Let's race.
Stick the crate, nail the crate to the telephone pole. Learn how to shoot. Even before we was so dumb, we didn't have a backboard at first.
We didn't have a backboard.
We was shooting. But I learned how to shoot like
we giving you guys some old school knowledge. Right?
But I think another thing that I like about sports in general is that I didn't know at the time, but know it now as you grow up. It teaches you so many more things than just athletics. It does. It really, you're talking about teamwork. You're talking about having the ability to work together, and when you get up in different levels, diversity. Because everybody on your team is not like you, and it just teaches you so many things. Man. Like I learned my leadership skills playing sports.
Yeah, I think I started coaching CYO basketball. I was really young, and I started coaching baseball in the neighborhood, and I was very young. I may have been like 18, 19 years old, and I was coaching baseball. If anything, I think sports teach you how to deal with failure because you're not going to always win. You're definitely not going to always win.
Never learn how to lose, man.
What do you say?
I never learned how to lose, man. I'm still losing.
Well, see, now, they don't say that you lose. It's like you win or you learn. That's the new term now.
We'll put it this way.
Is you win or you learn.
If somebody would have gave me a participation trophy, I would have threw it away.
No, we never.
That's how bad I was. I would have threw it. I was not taking either. I'm winning the chip.
We had 3 trophies.
I don't want a participation trophy.
St. E's, you either get a championship trophy, or you got the MVP of your team, or you got sportsmanship.
Yeah, I can deal with those.
Those were the only trophies.
Sportsmanship.
I was gonna say.
But the thing about sportsmanship, I don't know
that.
Yeah, I remember one year I got sportsmanship, and I thought it meant I just wasn't good. Like, yo, that's what you gonna make me feel good.
You were nice
until my pop explained it to me. Like, yo, what does it mean I'm not good?
After the game,
I'm like, what is this? Man, one of them guys like, yo, man, you don't mind losing, here's a trophy.
You lost with grace.
But when being president of the Little League program, I mean, we did participate. All the kids got trophies, and it was important. I mean, it made the kids, and a lot of times too, especially when you're talking about T-ballers, young kids. Yeah. It brings them back the next year.
See, I'm cool with T-ballers, but when you're 14, 15 years old,
no, we stopped at that. No,
they shouldn't be 12 teams.
We didn't do it. We didn't do it.
I mean, because I know when I was 8 years old, I had a friend, and he came out and he didn't make the team, but they allowed him to practice. so you can get better, so you can make the team the next year.
Right.
They didn't
That's
form a B
okay.
team and say go get 8 of your friends. No, you either on this team or you weren't.
Well,
I think
yeah,
that's
there
cool to
are
connect, right?
travel A
Yeah.
teams and travel
Yeah.
B teams.
Yeah.
And,
But now you got A, B, C.
well, and I think too is some of it is parents want to be able to say my kid's on a travel team. That's
True.
That's a big thing for parents to say right
yeah,
now.
sure, I get that.
Is to say that my kid is on the travel team.
Hmm.
Your kid may never play, but he's on
He
the
on the
travel.
team.
He's on the travel team.
Yeah, I want to play.
So
So
Good,
we
though.
are a few minutes over, and
Oh.
definitely wanted to give everybody an opportunity to
Yeah.
give some closing remarks here. So it definitely been great talking to you today about a plethora of things, kind of your role as a commission, as well as your experience or background with baseball. I feel like we can continue to talk about all of those things because you do so many things. Like we can have another conversation.
Hey, don't forget the puppies.
Oh man, yeah, the
Yeah,
puppies.
yeah.
That's a whole other.
He caught me off guard with the
too.
puppies.
yeah.
But do you have any closing remarks or last words for the people, or anything that we can kind of leave some of our guests with?
First of all, I want to thank you guys for inviting me. This was again my first podcast, and I know I'm going to bug you guys. I need me one of those cool shirts, man. Because
This wasn't man. We all came through with the
I-
same shirt. When I was like, man,
I feel like the person
You
who's
connected
singing
today.
the singing group, but I didn't get the memo on what they're saying. We all and then all of a sudden, I'm not. I'm not dressed.
This
Nah,
was
well,
not
only
intentional. That's funny.
I was sweaty. Remember, Doug was like, "Yo, when did you work out?" And plus I had on the shirt representing something else. So I was like, "I'm not wearing that shirt." So I didn't know. Then Devin
Yeah.
walked in. I said, "Okay."
I walked in. And
Yeah.
saying,
So usually I'm a hot ball.
But again, I want to thank you guys. As commissioner of this township, I'm proud. I think we do. This township has a lot on its plate. We're dealing with a lot of old, aging buildings, and that's right now we're having an issue with our pool. But as commissioners, I know that we are trying to keep everything running. We have a great staff. I'm happy to be commissioner. I truly enjoy what I do, and if anybody needs to reach me, I'm going to get back to you. As for my daughters, Kristen, Kayla, Lauren, love my girls so much. Being a dad, there's nothing, being a pop-up. I love that. I love being a pop-up too, but can't be that till you're dad.
Yeah.
And, I absolutely love my girls. They keep me going. They really, really do. But I thank you guys for, and then the baseball talk. I didn't know we were going to get into baseball.
Yeah, that was one of the
But,
things.
This show goes all over the place,
Yeah.
But that was
Hit
cool,
me
though.
up, bite me out. I'll come out, man. I'll definitely.
I am,
come out.
guys. We're going to get Chris out. We're going to get a camera too, so we can kind of, I want to see him in center field. I'm going to hit you some photos out there.
Give me some warm ups now,
I was
because
gonna say, you got to
Give
practice
me
a little bit, a couple weeks in advance.
Yeah, I'll get some
a
photos
couple
out
weeks
there.
ago, you've seen me play.
Yeah. So, but no, I definitely want to thank you guys. This is my time ever doing a podcast, and hopefully it's not my last. I enjoyed it.
No, we definitely gonna have you back,
I
man.
definitely enjoy it. And to these young men, just keep doing what you're doing and make your dad proud. I'm sure he's proud of you guys, and you got.
I think
got
you're talking to
DNA.
me,
Continue to try,
young man. I
best.
think he's talking to me.
No, but you got the DNA,
Mm-hmm.
and looks like I started off by saying everything goes back to my mom and dad. You know what? You guys are going to be end up saying the same thing. It's going to go back because I had no choice. It's in your DNA.
Yes. Well, again, thank you. It's
Thank
been
you, guys.
incredible, and we would love to have you back. For everybody, thank you guys
Thank
for
you,
tuning
guys.
in, watching Above Average Black Men. We're always here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. Hopefully, you left inspired.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment,
Yeah.
interact with us. That's Above Average Black Men, A²BM.
I need a T-shirt.
We gonna get you one.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Alrighty. Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody. Good night.